Hello learners, welcome back to the course on learning and development in organization. Today we'll deal with one of the most interesting topics in learning and development, and that is specifically individual differences in learning. During my discussions in the organizational behavior course in the NPTEL platform, I had actually emphasized on these individual differences. We also touched upon this in case of diversity, equity and all in case of the labor welfare and industrial relations course also. When we talk about specifically people in an organization, please note, I generally tell this to all my students, it takes all types of people to make this world. So there are people with differences, there are people with different thought processes, there are people who look differently, dress differently, talk differently and perform differently. So diversity is generally considered as a strength. But many a time when we talk about diversity, we restrict our discussion only to demographic diversity. We hardly talk about the cognitive diversity. We need people from different walks of life, different situations of life, because they bring in different possibilities. They bring in different experiences. This adds on to a particular solution. It adds value to a particular solution for a problem. So when you look into learning and development also, there is a significant element of individual differences that play a pivotal role when it comes to understanding, comprehending, learning. I am Dr. Abraham Cyril Issac. I'm an assistant professor at the School of Business, Indian Institute of Technology, Guwahati. Let's look into this part, individual differences in learning, which makes learning more crucial, it makes learning more critical. The theme for today's session would be, learning is the only thing that mind never exhausts, never fears, and never regrets. So whenever you look into any other activity, you will see that there might be some exhaustion, there might be some fear psychosis that is coming to you, or there might be some regret that you wasted the time. But mark my words, learning is one process whereby you will never have any regret, because that will be useful for you either immediately or in the future. This is for sure. So this is what the underlying theme for today's discussion is. Let's understand the fundamental block. As I already mentioned, when we talk about diversity, there's always a way, a tunnel vision to only look into demographic diversity. I want to change that. We'll look into more of the cognitive abilities also. We'll start with that for a change. So when we look into cognitive abilities with respect to learning, we see that strong analytical skills aid in problem solving, which is ideal for data analysis, research, and strategy. So when we are looking into cognitive abilities, please do understand that for the people who don't know what cognitive abilities are, cognitive abilities refer to an individual's capacity typically to process, understand, and retain information. So these abilities vary widely among employees, influencing how they learn and apply new knowledge. So specific to learning, you have employees with strong analytical skills. You have individuals with strong memory retention who may perform better in, let's say, knowledge-based tasks, like, let's say, creating policies, recalling policies, procedures or compliance regulations, etc. Or there might be employees with fast processing speeds that can quickly grasp new concepts, whereas others who may need repetition and reinforcement in solidifying the learning process. So when you are looking into the key factors influencing learning and abilities, you have to also understand the motivation and the learning readiness. Many a time we tend to ignore this, but this is equally significant. You talk about motivation, you have the intrinsic motivation, you have the extrinsic motivation. So many a time what happens is that learning totally, solely depends on the motivation. So typically we see that there might be a lot of disturbances with respect to motivation, or lack of clear motivation actually pulls down the learning of individuals. Let's look into this motivation part. When you approach a child, let's say a small kid, or he is being or she is being taught a new skill, maybe playing a guitar or a keyboard or something like that, you will not start or expect an intrinsic motivation. You, as part of any child rearing practices, you will see that there will be always some behavioral element that is associated with the teaching process. So initially you may give a chocolate to lure him to the act. Then once he does well in terms of guitar, he might be given a chocolate again as a gift, as a positive reinforcement. He will try or she will try to imbibe that and will perform better. You will get more rewards. So that is typically extrinsic motivation. Ladies and gentlemen, you are working in your organization primarily because of the extrinsic motivation or the intrinsic motivation. You have to understand first. If you are looking into the monetary considerations, yes, there is no doubt about it, that is extrinsic motivation. But that said, I'm not here to judge whether that is good or bad. My specific aspect here or specific discussion is centered around the possibility of giving that extrinsic motivation and transforming it to the intrinsic motivation. So specific to learning, it all starts with extrinsic motivation, as I just emphasized with an example. When you look into an organizational setting, let us all come back to adults now. When you come to organizational setting, you are being asked to go and represent an organization in a learning and development program or in a training program. Initially, there might be some hesitation. You will also, as an employee, look into the fact that what you are getting out of that training program. Are you going to get a raise? Are you going to get a promotion? Are you going to get some sort of recognition in the organization? If all these factors are there, the answer would be yes. If these factors are not there, possibly you are also not very interested in attending the learning program because it is starting with an extrinsic motivation. Whereas there are individuals who have already transformed themselves and are working when it comes to learning and development within the frame of intrinsic motivation. They see an opportunity, they grab. They see a possibility that there is something that new to learn, they take up the task. Whatever difficult it is, or however humongous it is, it does not make any difference. So it again depends on the level of motivation, the type of motivation. Let's understand this further. Highly motivated employees are more engaged, they take initiative, and they retain information better. So employees lacking motivation may actually require a structured learning intervention. So it is something that is very particularly impacting the learning. So the impact on learning would be that highly motivated employees, if you ask me, they are more engaged, they take initiative, and they retain information in a better manner. Whereas employees lacking motivation, they may require structured learning interventions. Now let's move into the personality and learning styles. You look into the possibility of employees' personality traits. They greatly influence how they prefer to absorb and process new information. Learning styles can be typically related to these personality. I'm not going into the details of the personality theories. Again, if you're keen on that, please refer to the organizational behavior course in the same NPTEL platform. But when you're looking into personality, I'll just say that there are different theories. If you look into the most common, the Ocean, the Big Five, you'll see that there is openness, conscientiousness, extraversion, agreeableness, neuroticism. So all these elements typically have an impact on your learning style. You look into any other theory of personality, similarly, likewise, you will always see that there is a connect. So personality traits greatly influence how they prefer to absorb and process new information. So let's look into visual learners. One of the most significant type of learning style is visual learning. They prefer diagrams, they prefer charts, infographics, and written materials to understand the concepts. Then there are auditory learners who absorb information best through discussions, podcasts, and verbal explanation. Then there are kinesthetics. Kinesthetic learners learn through hands-on experience. They learn through role-playing. They learn through physical engagement. Now let's look into the developmental stages and experience as part of factors influencing learning differences. Learning needs, no doubt, evolve at different career stages. So influencing what type of training and development employees require. When you look into the stages of learning, we'll start with the early career employees. Typically, entry level and the junior roles, they require foundational knowledge, they require technical skills, they require task-based training. So they have to learn best through structured onboarding. They have to learn through mentorship programs. They have to use skill-based training modules specifically. Then, if an example for the early career employees and the related learning would be a junior HR associate might need hands-on training in HR software tools, recruitment processes, and compliance regulations. Then there are mid-career professionals. You look into managerial and specialist roles. They need strategic thinking, they need leadership development and project management skills. So they typically benefit, if you ask me, from the mentorship programs, from advanced certifications and leadership workshops. An example could be a marketing manager may undergo executive coaching or strategic brand management training or refined decision-making skills. Then you have senior employees. You talk about leaderships and executive roles typically. You focus on organizational vision in their case. They will more be concerned about mentorship that they need and the innovation possibilities. So learning happens through networking, through executive coaching, and through thought leadership. When you're looking into a senior HR leader, he may attend conferences on organizational behavior or on workforce planning and future HR trends, etc. Now let's look into some of the most well emphasized and researched Honey and Mumford's learning style. Developed by Peter Honey and Alan Mumford, this model categorizes learners into 4 distinct styles based on how they process and absorb the new information. So understanding these styles helps individuals optimize their learning experiences and allows organization to design more effective training programs. So each learning style has unique strengths and challenges, influencing how employees engage with learning materials, problem solving, and decision making. The 4 possibilities with respect to the learning styles are: activists, they learn by doing. Reflectors, they learn by observation and thinking. You have theorists who learn by understanding the concepts. And finally, you have the pragmatists who learn by applying practical solutions. So by recognizing these differences, organizations can create inclusive and dynamic learning environments that cater to various employee needs. Let's understand this. Activists. Activists learn through experiences. When you're looking into activists, you have some key traits. Enthusiastic, they are energetic, they are eager to take on new challenges. They enjoy participating in hands-on activities and group work. They thrive in dynamic, fast-paced environments, and they prefer short-term projects over long-term planning. So if typically you are looking into the strengths of these individuals, please understand they adapt quickly to new situations. They are highly engaged and motivated in experiential learning, and they learn effectively through trial and error method. So these are typically what you understand or see as activists who learn through experience. Then when you look into these activists, they also pose some challenges. They tend to act before fully analyzing a particular situation. They lose interest in repetitive or theoretical tasks. They may struggle with structured methodical approaches. So what is the best learning strategies for activists? If you ask me, workshops and simulations that involve active participation is the way to go about it. Case studies and real world scenarios are required to solve real world problems. You need to have brainstorming sessions and team based learning activities for them. We can take an example. A sales executive learning a new product pitch will prefer role playing exercises and interactive sales simulations rather than reading manuals or attending long lectures. So this might be the way activists come across in your organization. Now let's look into the reflectors. The people who learn through observation and analysis, as I mentioned. So the key traits very quickly, they are thoughtful, they are careful, they prefer to take time before making decisions. They enjoy analyzing experiences from different perspectives. They prefer to observe others before taking action, and detailed, oriented and methodical in their approach they are. If you look quickly into the strengths, they make well-informed decisions after considering all the possible options and multiple viewpoints that are available to them. They are excellent at identifying patterns and drawing insights from them. They thrive in structured environments with clear instructions. So this is where they actually flourish. You give them a bit of unstructured context, they might not be that successful. Now the challenges specifically we'll detail here. We look into them, we see that there are possibilities that they may struggle with making quick decisions in fast-paced situations or settings. There might be a possibility that they can be overly cautious, leading to missed opportunities, or they prefer observing over participating in discussions. An example here could be that, let's say, an HR professional designing a new employee engagement strategy might prefer to analyze employee feedback surveys and study industry trends before making any recommendations. So what would be the best learning strategies? If you ask me, for reflectors, they need detailed reports and case studies, and this is required for their in-depth analysis. Recorded lectures and discussions to review at their own pace. They are good for, or they need, one-on-one coaching and mentorship programs when you are looking into reflectors. Now let's look into the third set of people who are theorists, who learn through logic and structures. Who learn through logic and structure. When you're looking into the key traits quickly, you'll see that they are inevitably systematic thinkers who prefer structured frameworks. They enjoy analyzing theories, they enjoy analyzing models, principles, etc. They seek logical explanations and dislike ambiguity. They prefer data-driven decision making. Now, when you look into the strengths part, please note they are excellent at recognizing patterns and applying logical reasoning. They thrive in structured learning environments with clear frameworks. They are highly skilled at breaking down complex problems into systematic solutions specifically. So when you are looking into the theorists, the challenges would be that they may struggle with open-ended creative tasks. They can be resistant to subjective or intuitive learning methods. They may overanalyze situations, delaying decision making. So what is the best learning strategy for them? If you ask me, it is all structured material. They should go for structured courses with clear objectives and frameworks. They should look into the logical flowcharts and model to explain concept. They are more good with research-based learning with references in academic settings or in academic context. So you're looking into, let's say, as an example, maybe a business analyst working on market research. He or she will prefer data-driven reports. He or she will prefer financial models and trend analysis tools to validate insights before making recommendations. Now let's move into pragmatists. Pragmatists, they are learning through practical applications. You look into them, their key traits, hands-on learning or hands-on learners who typically focus on immediate implementation. They prefer learning techniques that have real-world relevance. They enjoy experimenting with new tools, new strategies and methods. And they are practical problem solvers who prioritize efficiency. If you look into their strength, they are quick to apply new knowledge in practical settings. They are focused on results and implementation, and they adapt well to real-world challenges specifically. You also look into this Honey and Mumford's learning style with respect to pragmatists. You will see that there are some typical challenges that they may overlook theoretical foundations in favor of quick fixes, because they are actually people who go for quick fixes. So there's a possibility that they may overlook the theoretical foundations. They prefer action-oriented learning, making them impatient with lengthy discussions and deliberations, etc. And if you ask these individuals, they will say that they can struggle, or they may struggle with abstract or conceptual ideas specifically. So when you're looking into the best strategies for them, on-the-job training and real-world simulations are the go-to aspects or the go-to style for them. Step-by-step guides and quick reference materials also will help them. And if you're looking into problem-solving workshops, that will be ideal for them, which is more focused on practical application. An example could be, let's say, a project manager adopting a new workflow tool will always prefer a hands-on software tutorial rather than reading a guidebook about its features. So when you're looking into the learning development styles, I've discussed some of the models which are quite famous and which are more replicated in most of the research literature with respect to learning and development. So this will give you an insight. You might be an individual who might be working in the same project, in the same office with another individual, but your learning style might be considerably different from his or her learning style. So this possibility, this understanding of the possibility that exists, that there might be differences in learning style, will give you the right impetus to learn more, to develop more towards what you are lacking, or to increase your skill set and match the objectives of the organization. That's all from today's session. Please take care. See you all in the next session with respect to learning and development. Take care. Bye-bye.